New Yorkers feeling the pinch when it comes to utility costs. We'll break down what causes the increase and hear from a state lawmaker on the proposals to keep the costs down. Hello and welcome to Empire State Weekly. I'm John Gray in Albany. Utility costs top of mind for many of us right now, as some report higher than usual utility bills. This coming as the Public Service Commission approves a rate increase. In New York, electricity prices change based on demand and how much it costs to produce the power. Extreme heat or extreme cold can drive that demand higher, and those market prices can fluctuate day to day. Utilities go to Public Service Commission to request changes to their delivery rate, which they say is to cover the operating costs. They can raise bills even when the energy use stays the same. The state independent system operator, which oversees energy markets, explains.
When the price of the electricity that's derived through those competitive markets goes up, it gets reflected on a consumer bill within their supply charge. So when the consumer opens that bill, they'll see that supply charge. That's the actual commodity, the electricity that they consumed. That's where it shows up on the bill. Then there's a whole host of other charges, the retail side of the bill, as we call it.
This week, lawmakers responding to complaints of state residents about their bills by proposing legislation to make the state more affordable. Lawmakers have previously proposed measures that would require more transparency on your utility costs.
This package demands transparency in the rate setting process so consumers can finally understand how these decisions are being made and why they are paying what they pay.
Lawmakers say they plan to push these reforms through the legislative session. Joining us now to discuss more about energy prices, affordability, Assemblyman Phil Steck, Democrat representing the 110th Assembly District. As I always say, two things, Phil. Welcome to the show. And also for those watching other parts of the state, where's the 110th, just so they know?
All of Colony, all of Niskayuna, a quarter of Guilderland, and a small piece of Schenectady that's adjacent to Guilderland.
So all around Albany, basically, those little. So let's talk about energy. Everybody's getting these national grid bills, and they're upset, justifiably. They're just higher, and people are like, why is this happening? What can we do about it? What's your answer for this?
Well, certainly we shouldn't be making excuses for it because there's no excuses for it. The bottom line is that the way our state finances energy is wrong. We pass all the cost onto the ratepayers, and that includes the cost of upgrading the power grid. We have a power grid that's 100 years old. Has nothing to do with green energy or anything of that kind. You're still going to need those repairs, as your friend from National Grid pointed out. So what the government needs to do is, like Franklin Roosevelt's rural electrification program, is to invest in the power grid directly so that the costs are not borne by the ratepayers. Furthermore, the process at the Public Service Commission is defective. This is always a classic problem in government where the regulators get captured by the industries that they're supposed to regulate. So we have legislation that would add 2 consumer advocates to the Public Service Commission so that we have people there who are receptive to the concerns of the consumers. When the Public Service Commission was formed, it was recognized that consumer voices would need to be heard, but the difficulty is that it doesn't require the appointment of consumer advocates. We need to balance out the Public Service Commission.
I've heard some people saying, well, it's a really cold, bad winter. It's all supply and demand. That's really what's driving all this. But it sounds like you're saying it's more than that. It's not just that it was 0 degrees in January.
Well, no, I mean, supply and demand is an important part of it because New York imports its energy supply. So we are at the mercy of the market. If natural gas prices are extremely high, it crushes the people of New York. So the issue, what we need to be doing is getting away from the fossil fuels, and that's the beauty of renewable, that the sun is always there, the wind is always there, we don't have to pay for it. Now, we do have to pay for building the infrastructure that would support the green energy, that's true, but again, if the government makes that investment, rather than trying to do it on the backs of the ratepayers, we will be able to accomplish this and not cause any harm to anyone. I remember I was having a debate and there was complaints about certain electric mandates, and I had an audience that had been dominated staffed by my opponent's people. And I said this, I asked, who in the audience has been required to replace their gas stove with electric because of a state mandate? Please raise your hand. No one. So a lot of this stuff about the problems with conversion to green energy is largely mythical, and we need to be, green energy is actually the way to save money in the long run. I don't deny, again, that there are transition costs, but if the government is progressive and looks at that and takes on those costs instead of having the ratepayers do it, we can get there. I get very discouraged when I read a lot of what the governor is putting out there. I think it's back to the future. We need to do things that move us forward, not go backward.
She seemed to raise a few eyebrows, including my own, when I heard the word nuclear come out of her mouth weeks back. I was like, wow, that's the girl that's been standing in the corner of the dance for years and no one's talked about her, and now suddenly we're interested again in nuclear. I know you're not a fan of that.
Well, this is more back to the future stuff. The bottom line is there are 3 existing nuclear power plants in northwestern New York. Those power plants are subsidized by the state, which means us, the taxpayers, in the billions of dollars. That money would be better spent on upgrading the power grid, as I just mentioned. You know, we know about the potential environmental disaster of nuclear power. Okay, let's assume for the moment that that isn't a concern. What should be a concern is the cost. Nuclear power plants take a very long time to build, so you're not talking about something that's going to come online very soon.
Right.
And the history of them is that they're a financial boondoggle. Why do we want to get into that?
Are you alone on this? Are you tilting at windmills here, or do you have other lawmakers who are on your side?
Yeah, I mean, I think there hasn't been, in the budget process, the discussions are ongoing, and I can't say that I have real clarity right now as to where people stand. I did note that Senator Kruger has said that she's chair of the Senate Finance Committee, and she rejected the governor's proposals. I think that's a very influential person on these issues, and so it would be very surprising if the legislature went down that road, but you can never tell. Again, I'm in the Democratic Party, but I think we don't have vision for the future.
We'll have to leave it there. Phil Steck, thank you for coming on. 1 month to get the budget done. We'll see how you guys do this year.
Thanks.
Election year. Whenever it's election year, I always think you guys will get it done on time. SUNY touting its gains and progress the university system has made along with the future goals. We will break down the report with the SUNY chancellor himself. He'll be joining us discussing how concerns around students' financial aid could hamper their plans as well, and maybe some solutions. Also, by the way, if you got a comment or story idea, email us at newsandnews10.com. We're also on X at WTEN. This week, State University of New York, or SUNY, is touting significant advances across the system, even as students continue to face financial challenges. In a recent progress report, SUNY officials say they are on track to close a roughly $1 billion budget gap in less than 10 years, thanks to increased state funding. That report also noting that for the first time since 2009, SUNY has seen enrollment increases across all sectors for 3 consecutive years. Additionally, the system highlighting its SUNY Reconnect program, which provided free college coursework to over 5,000 students in the fall of 2025 to help them enter high-demand fields like artificial intelligence or nursing. These advances arriving as a report from the state controller warns that student financial aid is losing its effectiveness as the costs go up. That report shows that since 2008, The average tuition assistance program, or TAP, award grew by 21%. That may sound like a lot, but inflation and tuition costs rose much faster than that. It also pointed out that the number of TAP recipients has dropped by 21% since 2008. Joining us now to give additional details on the state of the SUNY system is the guy right at the top, the SUNY Chancellor, John King. Mr. King, thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for the opportunity. Great to see you.
All indications I'm hearing, the SUNY system is doing pretty well. Enrollment, a lot of things. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, we're in a great spot. Over the last 3 years, we've had enrollment growth in every sector in each of those 3 years. That's the first time we've had back-to-back-to-back enrollment growth since 2007, 8, 9. I think that's a sign that New Yorkers are seeing the affordable excellence available at SUNY and choosing SUNY for their families, which is great news.
Yeah, in a way, the economy's been tough, but it almost makes families really have to look at colleges and costs and say, maybe we should be giving a hard look at a SUNY school versus this private school. Not that there's anything wrong with the private schools, but do you think that's playing a factor that when money gets tighter, suddenly the places where you can get a better bargain rise to the top?
I think that is a factor. Look, the tuition at our four-year institutions is $7,070 for the year. That's an incredible bargain when you think about the incredible quality that students are getting, whether it's at a university at Buffalo or SUNY Oswego or SUNY Stony Brook. Folks can get a fantastic degree and walk into a phenomenal job with a great salary at a very affordable price. The governor also has an initiative called SUNY Reconnect, free community college for adults 25 to 55 in high demand areas like advanced manufacturing, healthcare, green jobs, cybersecurity, and that program has been phenomenally successful.
Yeah, let me ask, drill down to that a little bit more. For those who might be watching or have somebody in their family who's just not happy with whatever they're doing, whatever their career is now, or the money they're making, or whatever, if they should take a look at this, right? Because if you say, well, if I shifted maybe to healthcare, I shifted to tech stuff, maybe I could actually get some help paying for education and double my salary in a few years.
Absolutely. So this program, SUNY Reconnect, covers the cost of tuition, fees, books, and supplies, which is fantastic. And you have the opportunity to change your life. I've talked to folks, maybe they were driving for Uber, barely making ends meet. They're choosing SUNY Reconnect. They're in a nursing program, and they're going to walk away making 80 grand a year, thanks to that nursing degree. It's life-changing not only for them, but for their families.
As we're doing this interview, it's budget time up in Albany and where I'm at, and there's always needs. How about SUNY? Are you guys kind of shaking the tin cup saying, I know we're doing well, but we kind of need money for this, or this?
Yes, that's exactly right. The governor's been great. Governor Hochul really believes in SUNY, and the legislature has been very supportive. But one of our big challenges across the system is we have a $10 billion critical maintenance backlog. A lot of our buildings were built in the 60s and 70s. There's a desperate need for renovations. We had buildings at one of our campuses a couple weeks ago that we had to close because there wasn't heat at SUNY Purchase. And so we had to go online for classes. We had a situation at Buffalo State where the hot water wasn't working in a dorm and students had to shower in a trailer. We don't want to be in that situation. The best way we could solve that is for the state to commit significant resources. We've asked for $1 billion in capital support this year, and we've asked for a 5-year capital plan so that we can have a strategic plan over a 5-year period to really tackle that backlog.
What do you say to students who look at it, even, and again, if you compare a SUNY school to some of the private schools, a Syracuse, an RPI in Troy, your city schools in New York City, some of the private schools there, it's a huge bargain, but some still look at the number and say, I can't quite get there. Any advice you have for them beyond the filling out the FAFSA stuff, but look at the aid that might be available that they might not be seeing?
Yeah, your point about the FAFSA is really important. That's the free application for federal student aid. And last year, New Yorkers left $250 million on the table in unclaimed federal financial aid because they didn't complete the FAFSA. So that's critical. That's the starting place. But there's actually a lot of scholarships available, institutional aid that's available. So the best thing you can do is go to SUNY.edu, figure out which SUNYs are right for you, apply, do the FAFSA, and at least start the conversation then with the financial aid office about what you might need in order to take advantage of the great opportunities at SUNY.
We've only got a minute left, but I want to give you a chance to brag a little bit about the variety within SUNY. When I went in the 80s, Albany was in my backyard, but I just didn't like the vibe of it. Too big for me. I wanted something more folksy. I go to Oswego, I see that lake, I'm like, boy, I'm home. There really is quite a variety. If you're looking for a big city experience, you can get that, or small town experience, you can get that as well, right?
That's exactly right. We've got urban schools, suburban, rural. We've got small schools, small liberal arts colleges like SUNY Geneseo, which is almost like an honors college within the SUNY system. And we've got huge research universities like University at Buffalo with 30,000 students. Whatever you want to study, we've got that. We've got our environmental science and forestry college in Syracuse. We've got a maritime school in the Bronx. Folks are walking into six-figure jobs in commercial shipping when they graduate from SUNY Maritime. Anything you want to pursue, we've got it at SUNY. There's a place for every New Yorker at SUNY.
All right, SUNY Chancellor John King, I really do appreciate you making time today to talk to us about how things are going.
Thanks so much. Great to see you.
Good to see you too. Still to come right here as the debate around the budget process continues. The final budget hearings being held this week in the state legislature. We'll talk with lawmakers on their feelings on the budget as we're ahead of those big closed-door meetings that are coming. By the way, if you've got a comment or story idea, please tell us about it. Email us at news@news10.com. We're also on X, which used to be called Twitter. Some of us still call it Twitter. WTEN. Welcome back to Empire State Weekly. Over the past month now, New York's Assembly and Senate collaborating for joint budget hearings. This week marked the last of 12 of them. Our Capitol correspondent Jordan Starter-Francis at the Capitol talking with lawmakers and experts as the budget is due now 1 month.
The last of 12 joint legislative hearings on the state budget happened on Thursday, wrapping up inquiries lawmakers had before going into closed-door negotiations.
I don't see anything that's actually on paper that's not negotiable.
Democrat Senator Pete Harckham says there is a lot for Democrats and Republicans to sift through in the coming weeks, and one contested item is the environment. Republican Senator Daniel Steck wants more money in the state budget to fix water issues in the North Country. He spoke at the Joint Environment Conservation hearing in January.
The big picture, this $250 million is not going to go a long way in the Adirondacks, let alone the state.
Issues like this, economist Emily Eisner says, started when Washington tightened its budget.
What we're seeing in the budget negotiations is that they're not doing a sufficient job making up for those federal cuts.
Lawmakers in Washington have made several policy changes that have affected New York. Environmental changes, healthcare changes, and food aid changes. New York State Democrats and Republicans will look to adjust state policies to make up for those changes.
We're looking at senators' individual suggestions as we're crafting our one-house budget.
The next step at the Capitol is the release of the one-house budget for legislative and governor negotiation ahead of the April 1st deadline. At the Capitol correspondent Jordan Starter-Francis.
Now, during the ongoing budget season, affordable housing is on top of a lot of people's minds. Lawmakers this week confirming they are committed to helping first-time home buyers. Lawmakers proposing a number of items aimed at increasing affordable housing, from introducing a first-time home buyer property tax credit to increasing the amount of money in the Housing Access Voucher program. Well, one Republican measure would also freeze real property taxes for 3 years.
You can't speak to affordability and not discuss housing and the high cost of housing throughout the state.
The governor also proposing $100 million for first-time home buyers, as well as other measures in her executive budget proposal. The final budget, by the way, is due on April 1st. Governor Hochul also announcing new head of the Office of Cannabis Management this week, John Kagia, serving as the acting executive director of OCM until he's confirmed by the state Senate. Kagia most recently serving as director of policy at OCM, where he oversaw policy development and implementation for the state's medical, adult use, cannabinoid hemp programs. He also managed the development of research systems within the agency. Stick around, back with a look at the week ahead in just a bit. And by the way, if you got a comment or story idea, we would love to hear from you. Email us at newsandnews10.com. We're also on X at WTEN. Finally, at Empire State Weekly, the state is continuing a crackdown on companies promoting these buy now, pay later payment plans. Buy now, pay later plans offer shoppers to split purchases into smaller interest-free installments. Some have criticized, though, the practice as predatory for encouraging overspending, creating debt traps. New regulation from the state would hopefully stem that by requiring businesses to get a buy now, pay later license to operate in New York State. The regulation would also limit the amount that lenders could charge borrowers in late fees. For now, from all of us here at Empire State Weekly, I'm John Gray in Albany. I'll see you right here next week. And don't forget, you can watch Empire State Weekly all over New York State. Here's a full schedule of the show on 10 TV stations across the great state of New York.